When you think of intimate dining experiences at Disney, you probably aren't thinking counter service. However, an intimate meal can be had in the park if you know where to find it. And one place we found it was Columbia Harbor House at the Magic Kingdom's Liberty Square. Now, granted, it was not an intimate or romantic meal we were seeking when we went to Columbia Harbor House the first time. It was broccoli. Broccoli. And that's because after 6 days of vacationing in Walt Disney World in autumn, not a single green vegetable appeared on a plate. Every single side dish was new potatoes, root vegetables, autumnal fare, all prepared beautifully. But after 6 days, at least one of us was starved for just something green. So as we're talking about what we want for lunch, as we're tromping through the Magic Kingdom on our now 7th day of vacationing, all I hear myself say is, if I don't get broccoli, I'm going to die. And of course, not only did I mean it, but I also didn't think in a million years we'd find it. Until I hear Mark saying, look, it's broccoli. At first, yes, I thought he was kidding, and I was prepared to not be laughing. However, he was pointing at the Columbia Harbor House menu, and sure enough, steamed broccoli could be ordered as a side dish. And it was as if the Disney gods had heard my wish, and the heavens opened up and granted it. So Columbia Harbor House, here we come, and as we're entering this quaint New England seaside tavern, we are greeted instantly by a cast member in authentic colonial garb, all of which has been, of course, beautifully imagineered by Disney, even down to the massive stone hearth where whalers returning from the cold, ferocious seas, or the rivers of America, can warm themselves by the fire, find comfort and camaraderie, and then have a really good meal. So if you can look past the throng of guests who are usually crowding the entry, because this is a very popular lunch spot, you will notice just how nuanced the decor is. Your eyes will not tire of looking around. Everything is authentically nautical, from artifacts to maps and even down to architectural details that almost make you feel like you're in a ship's galley. It really is a charming place to sit. If not for getting your food on a tray, you would actually think this was a full-service restaurant. And part of what gives it that full-service feel is Restrooms. It is the only counter-service restaurant with its own restrooms. There's one upstairs and there's one downstairs. Our biggest tip is go upstairs. It is a secret for some reason. Either people don't realize that there's additional seating upstairs, or they just don't want to have to negotiate that many stairs while holding 2 trays and a family. But regardless, the upstairs dining is infinitely more romantic, and that's because you can usually find a little nook with a table for 2 overlooking either Fantasyland or the rivers of America, and you can feel like you really have the place to yourself. So even when there are neighboring tables with families, you still have a really nice sense of privacy. And what's also really charming is that the space is divided into a number of different rooms. Each one has its own name, its own light, its own decor. So it's one of those places where you know that every time you go, you can have a different experience. But yes, Columbia Harbor House really does get crowded at the lunch hour. Hint, don't go at the height of the lunch hour. Our best advice is to just go a little later, let the lines get a little shorter, let things die down just a little bit. Because after all, a more intimate dining experience is what we're talking about. So to accompany our side of steamed broccoli, we opted for the Anchors Away tuna sandwich, which looked like it would be healthy and light and at the same time satisfying. As simple as it sounds, this was a perfect tuna sandwich, served on thick multigrain bread, which was meaty, a little sweet, a little crunchy, delicious. And the tuna itself, perfect. The right amount of mayo So for my husband who really doesn't like mayo, he was fine. For those who do like mayo, it was good. And at the same time, it had just the right note of brine so that those of you who like your relish or sweet pickles as part of your tuna experience, you got that hit. And for those of us who don't, I found it intriguing and it was tasty. And it made me think it doesn't have to be the bottom of a pickle jar like my best friend's mother's tuna sandwich. So delicious, served with lettuce and tomato, both of which were crisp and fresh. And the steamed broccoli really did the trick. There's always the fear with vegetables that they're either going to be overcooked and mushy or they're going to be undercooked and raw. The steamed broccoli is perfectly steamed, a beautiful fresh green. The only shortcoming was salt, which I can't really fault them for because there are so many people who can't have salt. So I respected the fact that Columbia Harbor House was being sensitive to the low sodium diet. But we did need a few salt packets to make it work. Otherwise, but there are other things on the menu, and a big reason I think Columbia Harbor House is as popular as it is because of their lobster roll. You would think, oh, a lobster roll from a counter service place is going to be more roll than lobster, but Columbia Harbor House makes a really fine lobster roll. It is filled with lobster, for real. So if that's your thing, you will not be disappointed at Columbia Harbor House. The roll is meaty, and so is the lobster. Very substantial. You could share it if your appetites are not huge, and particularly if you each get your own cup of clam chowder. This is the New England style. It's the white creamy kind, and seriously, one of the best we've ever had. There was no shortage of clams. The big mistake we made the first time was sharing it because we were scraping that cup for all it was worth. It was so delicious. And why? Because it's creamy, just the right amount of salt, clams that are meaty and juicy, a little hint of bacon. It just speaks to why this place is as popular as it is, because everything is made with fresh ingredients, prepared perfectly, served consistently. So I hope that we've inspired you to give Columbia Harbor House a try if you haven't already. It's a great alternative to burgers and fries, and it lends itself to really being able to kind of spread out, relax, pull out your maps, your parade guides, talk about what you're going to do next, where you're going to go, and just replenish before setting back out into the wilds of the Magic Kingdom. We love it, and we hope you will too, and let us know what you thought. We'd love to hear from you, and please come visit us at DisneyFor2.com. We'd love to see you there. Now it's time to get a couple of glasses chilling and cook up a couple of martinis for date night. Have a good one.